a really hard year, right, for Tell. And the way he handled this, I can't imagine. I absolutely cannot imagine his toughness and his resolve and his ability to compartmentalize and just focus on us. I never got the impression that it was overwhelming, and I'm sure it was at times. It speaks volumes about his support network that he has as a family, and his wonderful friends that he has that helped with that, and all his friends' parents I know helped out a lot as well. I have so much respect for you and the way you handled this situation. Great teammate, great leader. I think my lasting impression of Tell, though, is, and he didn't really get dunked on, I'm just giving him a hard time. Literally, when that kid goes in and he's gonna dunk on Tell, and tells, there's some guys who back off in that situation, let the guy get the dunk and stay out of the picture. Right? I don't want to be on the front page of the paper. Get it dunked on. Tell goes flying in and swipes at it and ends up in the pad under the basket facing him, and the kid gives him the Clay Matthews Claymaker, and he smiles. And this tells you about the kind of perspective he has versus the kind of perspective I have. He's smiling and ready to just keep playing, and I don't. Right? I probably should have, and I'm at half court making the fool of myself at that time. I need that kind of perspective. I wish I had that. That's it really, and the smile, right? Everybody look, Tell's just got that engaging smile. He just, everything's gonna be all right. Everything's cool. The last thing that I'll talk about with Tell is just his ability to talk. That's not shocking to everybody that knows Tell. But again, that's what made him so great for us defensively, is his willingness and his ability to communicate to his teammates so we were all on the same page. He had a great year. Proud of you, everything you've done. He's going to UW Eau Claire. He's going to have a wonderful future. I tell you what, we're in good hands, guys. We got people like this that are going to be running things in the future. Thank you, Tell Heflin. All right, let's get Zeke in here. Okay. Now, you don't get, there's different levels of praise in our program. When I start talking about you in the same breath as Alex Ruff in terms of toughness, that's where this kid is, man. I tell you what, when opposing teams and opposing coaches are game planning for who has to bring the ball up the floor against, again, not physically imposing, right, but just that focus. There were times, what game was that? Well, we're like, did you see that? He said, look at his eyes, Central game. About the last 2 minutes of the Central game, where it's just, I would not want to be on the floor against him. His eyes get those warrior eyes, and he's going to get the ball. Just one of the toughest kids I've ever had the opportunity to coach. One of the other unique abilities that Zandy has is to relay information to his teammates effectively. And that's not something that everybody has. There are some guys need to work on it. I think, if some guys just yell, and that doesn't go over real well with some guys. Zandy might earhole you a little bit and get after you, but he explains where you should be and what mistake you're making much more effectively than we do, because you get a peer that it means more coming from somebody that's a peer. And Zandy Stoll is just talking about a coach on the floor. I wrote that down here. I never had, I could just say, ask Zandy, what are we doing? What do we need? What do we need to do better? And boom, he takes care of it, man. He is the absolute consummate coach on the floor. And you can't replace that. Those kind of kids do not come along very often. I wrote down, I already mentioned that, I'm going to say it again. I just got a kick out of those guys talking about those Menominee kids. Did you see that? Kids said, you take it. No, you take it. You take it. Right? That's really cool. Zandy Stoll is second team all conference with this stat line. 3 points per game. Shot 36% from the floor. 57% from the line. Okay, so it's like, ooh. Okay, but what does that tell you about his ability to do other things? Right? He had a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio, which is what you strive for. But more than that, it was his ability to defend and to lead. And for other coaches to see that, and not just look at stats, it tells you the impact that he had on the game. And guys like this don't come around very often. And I'm just so pleased that I had the honor to coach you. Andy Stoll, headed to McAllister, played some football.
Yeah.
Okay, who's like, we were done. Right? Okay, well, thanks for coming. Okay. 4 years goes fast, you know? Coach Frederick and I have said this many times, where we, end of his freshman year, beginning of his sophomore year, man, we get 2 more years with him, or 3 more. And now, poof, right, it's just gone. It goes so quickly. You know, and one of the things, and this is kind of general, not specific to Tyson, but I said to my wife before the season started, I really need to try to enjoy this year. And that's hard to do. As coaches, we don't tend to enjoy things very much. You're always worried about the next thing and what we didn't do well. This is such a uniquely special group of young men. You know, so feeding into what I was going to say about Tyson, I wanted to enjoy this because I tell you, I've been doing this long enough to know guys like this don't come around very often. I'm going to get his awards out of the way now because maybe I should just send them out to you. It's going to take me a while to do that. Tyson Clean was first team all-conference for the 3rd time. He is 2-time player of the year in the Big Rivers. He was Chippewa County Player of the Year 2 years in a row. He was 3-time first team Chippewa County. He will be the Leader Telegram All-Northwest Player of the Year. He's first team All-Northwest 2 times. He's Wisconsin Basketball Coaches Association first team All-State. He is AP 3rd team All-State, which is really hard to get in this part of the state, to get that kind of recognition at the state level. Whis Hoops and Taco Bell named him, I don't know why. You know what I said? I called him, I'm like, do you get tacos out of this? Pretty cool. Cinnamon twist or something. We named him the best shooter in the state, which is, you know, those of us that get to see him, we are not surprised. But again, it's tough to do that located where we are. Other things that I just got done doing this, because I have to, Mr. Frizzell's trying to keep a history of everything. Tyson finished as the all-time leading scorer in the Big Rivers. I didn't realize that until I started digging a little bit. Finished with 1,621 points. He also, and obviously that's a school record, 615 points this season for an average of 25.6 points per game. Also Big Rivers and school records. Holds the all-time career 3-pointers made, shattering the old record. I got nothing left now, no. 272 threes made, which is unbelievable. And also holds the single season 3-pointers made in the Big Rivers with 96. I guess that's it. That's it. I have the honor of being selected to coach the All-Star game this year, Division I All-Star game. Tyson is a member of that team, which is special. I was an assistant a few years ago, and that was cool because Dustin was on that team, so that's a neat thing. And also the other one thing that I would mention is the top scorer in Division I in the state of Wisconsin, 4th all divisions. Okay, so listen, that's all really cool. That's great stuff. That is not what makes him special. And those of you that know Tyson know that. So you got all these numbers and all these records and all this fun. He is exactly the same. He is the most humble person that I know. He's, I think, sometimes to a fault. You know, it was great. Sometimes we don't ever see him make. There's no emotion. We were at a tournament in the cities this year, and we played in Minnesota. And they're just everything in Minnesota is hands-on, grab and grab and grab. And he just got absolutely murdered. He's got scratches all over. And Troy Stoll comes up after, and he's like, I have so much respect for you. I didn't drill one of those guys in the first half. Just that composure, right? He's just stone-faced. But I tell you what, it was kind of cool this year to see a few games where the emotion let out a little bit. When you woofed at that kid and he hit that 3 in the Central game, that was cool. We were right in front of our bench, knocked one down in that overtime. That was cool. I like that. And telling Elwood to shoot. I like that too. Shoot. I'm not condoning that. And I meant, this is probably obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. There is not a close second. When I talk about the best players I've ever coached, this is it. Because it's not just his ability to shoot the ball. It's not his ability to pass the ball. It's not his ability to defend. It's his ability to do everything. And to be a great teammate on top of it. He's a great leader. A couple things about Tyson. How many times, I was going to ask you to try to think of some times. We had to stop practice many, many times during the season so that somebody didn't get hurt. Because it gets a little edgy, the ball doesn't go in, and he's got to hurt somebody, right? And so that's one. And it's not just the players; it's us. There are certain drills we do where we have blocking dummies. It's a drill we call Gator. And it's a ball handling and finish at the rim. And I drill everybody hard, everybody. Bam! Get a little frustration out. And you should have caught that one yesterday. Why didn't you close that? He comes down and I just kind of back away. I don't want to get hit. He initiates a lot of contact, that's for sure. His ridiculous range, right? The range, the ability to shoot the ball from a long distance. Last year at camp, I'm talking, there's like 50, 60 kids at camp, and these guys are just sitting around. And I'm talking about form shooting and how we walk in the gym and we got to worry, we don't shoot from way out here right away. We get in, we're working on our form. And I'm like, you can't shoot from way out here. I go, Tyson, get up, come out here. And I throw him the ball at about 30 feet. Maybe 28, 30, somewhere in there. Boom, maybe. Okay? It was just perfect. Right? So I throw it to him again. Do it again. Boom. Do it again. Boom. 3 in a row. I'm like, okay, let's sit down. Wow. And those kids, I don't know if they remember anything I said though after that, because they're like, did you see that? 2 other things I got to tell you. When he was a sophomore, we had to, when you got a really talented, unique player like Tyson, and this was not really a concern of mine, but you want to make sure that, the leash stays short early. You always let it out. But you want to keep him on a shorter leash. You want to make sure that, he doesn't. In retrospect, I shouldn't have worried about it. But you want to, keep the ego down. So one day of practice, I just made up my mind before practice. I am just riding him. I'm just going to put the saddle on and we're going down. I'm all over you. Every possession, we're around. Okay? One time, I'm yelling about something defensively. And I'm into him. Good. And I finish up, and he just does this. Got it. Smacks me on the butt. I got you. As a sophomore. Well, that didn't go like I thought it was. So he's like, I know what you're doing. I got you. I know. And then lastly, we're playing at Superior this year. If you were at that game, I made 5 ridiculously long threes in the first quarter. And then that's not always a good thing. And everybody, we've talked about this, everybody stands and watches. I'm like, yeah, do it again. And everybody's just kind of waiting for him to do something. There was a little transition play, he catches it at about 30 on the sideline and just heaves one. I mean, it's just nice. They missed it by 6 feet. They just kind of threw it up there, it was contested, they missed it bad. And so there's a timeout, and I'm talking, I'm like, we got to get better shots. We're launching 35-footers. And I look at him, and he goes, hey, I make mistakes too, coach. Tyson Killeen is special. I think the thing that I talked about is humility. The fact that his best basketball is ahead of him is a scary thought for people that are going to have to see him in the future. I think he's an undervalued kid at the college level. It breaks my heart that the recruiting hasn't gone the way it should have gone. I will stake whatever kind of reputation I have. I probably don't have a very good one. I'll throw it on the line and say, this kid, he's a D1 talent. He should be playing Division I basketball somewhere. There's a place for him somewhere. I don't know that that's going to happen. Fortunately, we have some irons in the fire, and I think we're going to end up with a good situation regardless. It has been an absolute pleasure and honor to coach Tyson Killeen.